Hey, what's up guys, and welcome in this new tutorial where I'm gonna show you some EQ tricks for mixing tech house. So we're gonna have four main techniques in this video. We're gonna start with the first one, which is mid-side EQ. So for this one we're gonna use this top loop here. So the first important thing to understand is the difference between mid and side. So we're going to use the Brainworx meter because it allows us to solo the mids and the sides. So we're going to start with this example. And basically what you're hearing on the mid is everything that is in mono inside of this loop, while on the side all of the stereo information. So we're gonna use the standard Ableton EQ for this example, and we're gonna set it to the mid side mode. So as you can see, we already have some EQing that we have done on the loop, and basically we are cutting some low frequencies on the mids. Like this, and now we're gonna go into the side section. Here it can be useful on the drums just to add a bit more, especially on the top end. So obviously here I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's just so that you can understand how it works. I'm gonna take this same EQ and do it on the mid side so that you can hear also what happens on the mids. So I'm gonna put it down here. So yeah, quite a huge difference. Usually I recommend to boost a bit of the highs here in the side mode. And eventually you can also do a similar EQ, but on the other way with the mids. So we're gonna reduce it a bit on the mids. So you can hear how it's much more open in general. So we're gonna listen the mids and sides in solo once again. Yeah, you can really hear how much we are really increasing this loop here in this section. And yeah, this is the first tip. Obviously you can use it on a lot of other sounds in your track, for example synths and vocals, but I like to use it on drums a lot. The second thing is gonna be a dynamic EQ. So we're gonna use this top loop since we have a lot of elements here, and for this one we're gonna have to use the Pro Q3 since we don't have a dynamic EQ inside of Ableton. So basically a dynamic EQ is something in between an EQ and a compressor, but I'll show you how to do it really quickly here on the Pro Q3. So just by clicking make dynamic, you will swap like the normal band for a dynamic band, and here you will also be able to set the threshold of the band. And this is a really important EQ technique because it allows you to reduce the level of certain frequencies only when they reach the threshold. So in a normal EQ, so let's disable dynamic, if you want to reduce this area, it will be reduced for all the time. It will sound something like this, while if you want to reduce this area with the dynamic EQ, you will only reduce it once it reaches a certain threshold. So in this case, as you can see, since we have the clap here, we are basically only reducing the clap with the dynamic EQ. So in this case, we don't have any other claps, so we won't do this kind of EQ, but it can be really useful also for resonant frequencies. So we have this one here. You can simply put down the dynamic range and it will automatically create a dynamic EQ bell. And in this case, we are reducing the resonant frequency only when it exceeds the threshold. So this is a really powerful mixing technique that we always use. Moving on is frequency splitting. On this one, we're going to use the baseline. So in Ableton we can do it with an audio effect rack. So we're gonna load it here, and we're gonna have to create 3 different chains. So in this baseline we don't have a lot of top frequencies, so we're not gonna use the top band a lot, but we're gonna still have it here. We have low, mid and top. And the way we can divide these 3 bands is by using the EQ3. So we are probably gonna change this one, since this baseline is really low in frequencies. So we're gonna do 150, then we're gonna do with 1K here. We're gonna paste it, and for the top we're gonna disable the low and the mids. For the mids we're gonna disable the low and the highs, and for the lows we're gonna disable the mid and the tops. So as you can hear, the bassline sounds exactly the same, but we solo the lows. We only have the lows. If we solo the mid, we only have the mids. In the top, we don't have anything because this bassline doesn't have any information on the top frequencies, but it can be useful, for example, if you want to process a lead or a vocal in this way. So once you've done that, basically you have split the frequency spectrum in 3 different parts, and you can process them individually. So for example, we're gonna put an EQ here, and we're gonna reduce the frequency where we have the fundamental of the kick. So let's see where it is. So yeah, around the 49 Hz. So we're gonna go here. And reduce that, and in the mids, for example, we can add a tiny bit of delay. Let's do something like this. Just to add a bit more groove to the bassline, and yeah, basically you can really add whatever you want here. And this is the 3rd tip. So the last one is gonna be frequency masking. So this is usually a controversial topic, because what happens with frequency masking is when we have a lot of elements on the same frequency range, we can have some issues. Obviously it's very difficult, and it will sound really bad to have each different element on a certain frequency on a track. So obviously you're gonna have overlaps, but the way to fix it is to have priorities. An example on this track is this glitch loop together with this vocal. And as you can see here and here, they are more or less covering the same frequency range. So we're gonna quickly remove the Pro Q3 here, and we're gonna add 2 Pro Q3s on the glitch loop and on the vocal, and then we're gonna enable the sidechain on the glitch loop. And as you can see here, we are selecting the Pro Q3, which is on the channel 9, which is on the vocal. So we can see both of the frequency spectrum. We have the glitch loop and the vocal. As you can see, they are clearly overlapping, and I think that way to fix this is with a dynamic EQ. So we're going to remove a bit of the glitch loop, which is the element that we want to have in the background, while we want to have the vocal a bit more in front of the mix. And we're gonna do like a bit of reduction here in the same frequency range. So this is one way to fix it, but here there is a problem, because the glitch loop is playing even when we don't have the vocal, and this ProQ3 is working even when the vocal is not playing. So we're gonna have this reduction in frequencies throughout the whole track, and maybe this is something that we don't want, because for example in these parts here we want to have the glitch loop back at its full gain. So the way we can fix that is not with an EQ, but it's with multiband compressor, but it's a kind of a more advanced technique. So we're gonna go into the glitch loop. We're gonna select the frequency range, which is more or less overlapping with the vocal. Then we're gonna go in expert mode, and we're gonna set the sidechain to external. Then we're gonna go here and set the input as the vocal loop. So in this case we are using the vocal as a trigger to the compressor, and it will only reduce the volume of this frequency range when the vocal is playing. So let's have a listen. So as you can see, the compressor is working only when we have the vocals. So if we loop this part where we don't have the vocal, the compressor will not work. While when we go here, when we have the vocal, the compressor will work. And this is a better solution to what we did before. If you have, for instance, something similar to this track where you only have the vocal in a really small section while the rest of the track is free, so you don't want to reduce the frequencies throughout the whole track. And so let's have a listen with the rest of the track here. Basically that's all for this tutorial on some useful EQ tricks for your tech house tracks. Don't forget to let us know what tutorials would you like to see next in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.